Matt Redman singing and shouting, getting Dion so excited he lost his clogs this morning. Dion, good morning and welcome to breakfast. I hope you're well.
Aware of the new type of clog that embarrasses my children and my wife. They are called Crocs.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting you to say.
I wear them in the garden. I'd love to be able to wear them in the street, but I'm not allowed to take them beyond the front door.
Don't worry, they're keeping an eye on you, those lot. That's funny. Dion, I felt like I wanted to play the theme tune to the Golden Girls this morning. Thank you for being a friend. And I'm really grateful that I can say good morning to you as a friend. And I hope that you're well on what I'm guessing is going to be a lovely day in the Netherlands.
Brad, my friend, it is a beautiful day. I'm actually sitting in a sort of like a Shell Ultra City parking lot.
Oh,
I'm on my way to a conference today, about 100 kilometers from Amsterdam in a place called Hertogenbosch,
oh.
Den Bosch. So I'm speaking to you from here, but it is beautiful outside, absolutely stunning. Summer has arrived. We're in the mid to upper 20s, and but Brad, what's interesting about this conference that I'm going to
Yeah?
is it's slightly different from the normal sort of academic conferences that one goes to, where there's a lot of sort of posturing and egos and people trying to be the smartest person in the room. This is actually an event which was organized by our Center for Teaching and Learning for professors. And it's trying our university is really trying to cultivate the sort of humaneness,
Mm,
the sense of humanity of being together in some kind of task, some kind of work with others in a very human way, sort of
mm.
something more than just the transactional or functional way in which institutions function. And I came across a quote a little bit earlier in the week from J.R.R. Tolkien, the author of The Lord of the Rings, who, of course, as many of our listeners will know, was born in Bloemfontein or just
That's right.
outside of Bloemfontein. And he writes, this is what he says about friendships. He says, "You can trust us to stick to you through thick and thin, to the bitter end. You can trust us to keep any secret of yours closer than you keep it yourself. But you cannot trust us to let you face trouble alone
Wow.
and go off without a word. We are your friends." Now, that really got me thinking. I wonder what the sort of intention is of friendship for Christians. And so I went and did a little bit of thinking about this and want to share, Brad, if I can,
Mm,
just three brief thoughts about this. The first thing that struck me is that from the wisdom literature, from the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, we find quite a lot about friendship. Proverbs 17, verse 17 says, "A friend loves at all times. A brother is born for a time of adversity." And, when I read this, it reminded me that friendship is not seasonal. It's not something that's self-seeking in the sort of Hebrew world. Friendship would have been something that was covenantal rather than transactional. So
mm.
a friend is someone that you can trust to be with you, not only when times are good. And I was thinking about my friends, about you, and about many of my other friends, and how close these people have been to me through the good and the bad, celebrating the joys, but also just being there to listen, sometimes to offer care during the tough times. Second thing that struck me is that Jesus actually is an example for us of friendship. In
Mm.
John 15, verses 13 to 15, we read, "No one has greater love than this." So this is the sort of character of love which is described. What is that character? That he lay down his life for his friends. And then Jesus says to his disciples, "I call you friends." Now, Brad, when I read this, I thought these are such tender words, spoken
Mm.
just before his crucifixion. Jesus, in a sense, redefines friendship, not only as something that has to do with mutual affection, but also something that will have to do with sacrificial love. Jesus is going to show them that a friend is willing to lay down his life for his friends. And I thought to myself, I have a few people who are willing to do that. They will give me their very best, their very last. And I wondered, are there some people for whom I am that kind of friend? Am I
Mm.
close enough, loving enough to be able to do that? Last thing I wanted to share, Brad, from the epistles from Paul's letters. Romans chapter 12, verse 10 says, love one another with mutual affection. And I love this bit. This is that competitive Paul again. He says, outdo one another in showing honor. I have one or two friends. You are this person, by the way, as well, who, when I'm in their presence, I always feel so great. You know, they can really outdo me in honor. They tell me, you know, things about myself that are both sometimes a blessing, but also sometimes truthful things. You know, so that I can become more of a blessing. So, Brad, today I just really wanted to encourage our listeners to say friendship, I think, is a gift that God gives us. And as Christians, every gift that we receive from God through the Holy Spirit is meant to be a gift that builds us up, but also builds others up. And my question, perhaps, to myself and to others is, can you identify those friends that you have, but also can others identify you as a friend that God has given them?
Lots to think about. We all need a good friend, but we need to be prepared to be a good friend. We often want to know, I hope somebody's praying for me. I hope that somebody is caring about me and thinking about me, but who am I caring about praying for, and who am I phoning up? Who am I checking in on? Maybe it's time for us to give a little more than we hope to get when it comes to true friendship, Dion.
And absolutely, and just if I can say one last thing,
Sure.
which I think is so important for me. Probably one of my very first friends is Megan, to whom I'm married. You know, I think what's made our marriage work, you know, for 32 years is the fact that we're friends before we're lovers. We're friends before we are parents. We know how to spend time together, have fun together, be
Yeah.
honest together, and that's a great gift. And I really want to say, and the other thing that's also been a blessing is as our children have got older, the relationship with them has also changed. We've become friends with them, and you know, you might be in a different stage in life, our listeners, but find that way to cultivate the gift of friendship.
Beautiful. What a message all the way from the Netherlands. Thanks for parking on the side of the road and connecting with us. We appreciate that a lot, Dion. Thanks for your time, and thanks for a beautiful message. And thanks that we can call you friend.
Thanks, my friend. Well, blessings for the day, and we'll catch up again next week.
Travel safe and have a great conference.